You are tuned into your voice, your power with Anika. Real lives, real stories, and real hope through transformational leadership. You have entered the safe zone, the safe space for creatives, executives, business leaders, dreamers, and leaders of the new school, sharing tips, tools, and resources to thrive with authenticity as authorities on a global scale. Transformation is power, and so is your truth. Stay tuned for the real deal with Anika and her guests.
Good day, and welcome to Your Voice, Your Power. I am Anika Wilson, and today we have the fantabulous Andrea Hancock.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you today because your specialty makes me nervous. Every time we talk, I feel some kind of way. But I know listeners are going to get so much out of this. And we're on video, so hey, everyone. I want to introduce our topic today. We're talking about asking for help. Is it a strength or is it a weakness? But I want to go ahead and let you introduce yourself to the world, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Andrea Hancock. I'm owner of Be Dexterous LLC, and we are organizers under Dexterous Organizing, DBA, and also Dexterous Lifestyle. In both, we help busy professionals who are struggling to get organized, stay organized, or they're going through some type of life transition. They may already be organized, but because of that life transition things have just gotten overwhelming. And with the Dexterous Lifestyle, we connect organizing, wellness, and productivity because they're all connected. And some people realize it, some people don't, but we need to learn who we are, how we think, and before we start to just take things off the rack, so to speak, these tips and tricks and Netflix shows and books and other things in media on Pinterest, and decide that, oh, I'm going to get organized because I'm going to take this. But we need to start with ourselves, knowing who we are, and then organize accordingly.
What always blows my mind is the first time I talked to you, I thought you were talking about organizing. And we got into our conversation, and then you broke all that down. And I was like, how do we get from organizing to like every single one of my productivity no-nos? Like you break it down to like personality, environment, all these factors that people don't even realize go into organization, and especially as women, moms, like I always talk about the multiple roles and responsibilities that women have. And when we do that, I get frustrated because the world loves to place blame on us. Work-life balance to me is just a finger point. It's like you don't have your stuff together. Like you don't know what you having for dinner tonight. You ain't clean your house, you ain't pick up the kids, you ain't do all this. Oh, but you were supposed to write a paper and you were supposed to do a publication and you were supposed to interview this person, you were supposed to schedule this, you were supposed to do that today, Monday. You know what I'm saying? And they place the blame on the woman. And so I'm listening to you, and I have like a love-hate relationship with organization because I feel like, it's like I'm running circles, you know what I mean, around the status quo, but yet still feel inadequate, unfulfilled because we have this unrealistic expectation that we place on ourselves.
Absolutely.
About, you know what I'm saying, what we're doing. So what is your take on all that?
So I'll tell you my story. I started off thinking that I was a very organized person. And looking from the outside looking in, you talk to my friends and they'll say, oh, you were always pretty organized. And hindsight is 2020. I started my business and I realized that structure was always given to me. through my parents, through school. I had to be here at this time. I had to read this at this time. I had to be at this cubicle from this time to this time. These were my responsibilities. Only after I was done, I go home and I do this, this, and this. When I started my business, you don't have that structure. You don't have the accountability, and you don't have the systems that other people put in place for you. You have to create the systems. And on top of that, you have people telling you what is priority. Your marketing is priority. Oh, if you're not on social media, you're not getting any business. If you don't get this contract together, you're going to lose this. And so you are running in circles, trying to do all the jobs, and everything's priority. And so from that perspective, I looked around after starting a professional organizing business, and I looked at my desk and I had business cards and conference materials and things I was supposed to be writing and my accounting books. And I volunteered for this position in this networking event because, that told me I was going to get more business, but now I don't understand how I'm going to do this books. And it was chaos. And on top of that, here I am again, starting a professional organizing business. And I'm telling people, hey, I'm a professional organizer. Oh, your house must be perfect. Everything must be in place all the time. So then I had to deal with this shame, this guilt, this imposter syndrome of I'm going to, Miss Susie's house and organizing her. And I come home and my desk looks like Who Shot John? And so dealing and being in my industry, a lot of organizers have always been and always will be super organized. And they're like, oh no, I don't ever have this problem. Oh, I'm always on time. Oh, it was a mess. But I finally came across a book called The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. A lot of people are familiar with it. Some people are not. I'm actually rereading it right now on Audible because got to revisit it. But she's a shame researcher. And her research caused her to have her own, what she calls it, like spiritual awakening, but really was like a mental breakdown. Because what she realized was she wasn't living her life wholeheartedly and without shame and without guilt.
And that comparison, boy,
it changed my perspective. And then I realized I started seeing it in my clients. As soon as you walk in through someone's door, this is probably the worst you've ever seen. I've always been disorganized. My mom has been organized. My sister's been organized, and this is the way I am. And so once we really start peeling away the shame and the guilt and really coming to our own with curiosity, understanding, awareness, then you can start having solutions. But as long as you're dodging and covering up and just, stuffing this in this drawer because nobody needs to know how disorganized I am, it's never going to be fixed.
The sad thing is I knew where everything was though.
Well, here's the thing. There's another thing. What is the definition of organized?
Thank you. Because so you're talking about Brene Brown, and I was like, I think I'm an adversity researcher, but my thing is with my coaching, first question is, what is your definition of success? Because everybody is not, you know what I mean? And to your point, my thoughts are organized. My desk may not be, but like when you're researching and building programs and writing you know what I mean? You need your piles, you need your sections, you need your stuff. Now, of course, if my husband looks at it, it is not organized. He is a Marine. And so I was listening to you talk about structure. I used to be allergic to that word until I became an entrepreneur. I have to stay on mute because I'll be over here shouting when you talk. Because you was talking about structure, you was talking about being an entrepreneur. You know, and I went from working in the prison to working in substance abuse. Those are institutions. And those institutions have policies and procedures that you follow. And it's so funny because people love to call me and be like, you know, what's your next project? What you working on? What you doing? What you doing? The problem with being an entrepreneur is you can change that stuff like it's liquid. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And that is my problem. I stay liquid. Like SWAT, he says, stay liquid. I'm liquid. And that's not good. You know, I like being an entrepreneur because I'm creative, but then that becomes a problem when you're like, oh, but this new software just came out. And then 12 hours later, I'm down a rabbit hole. Right now, my courses aren't out because I have changed softwares 15 times. And I think the original one is the one I actually like, the software. We're not gonna, and I'm like, I need to be doing YouTube videos because I need to be getting paid for this crap that I'm doing.
Right.
Because nobody is seeing it. And then if I give a suggestion, it's like, how do you know? Oh, honey, you don't want to do the 36 hours that I did of figuring out what works and what doesn't work and what the loophole is. But you know what? Somebody gets paid to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so to your point, you know, we have got to define what things look like to us, what our goal is for it, because I'm gonna tell you, your definition of organized, you know, as you said, those women are like, oh, I've never had this problem with her. I had a visual, girl, of you lifting up a mattress or you know, the bed skirt and what was up under the bed skirt in some of these people's houses. You know, you have a lot of people that, you know, the cover looks a certain way.
Mm.
Because let me tell you something, that perception has been real for a very long time.
Mm.
And the minute I became a military spouse, I could talk about a lot of different scenarios, you know, where people feel like certain things look a certain way.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about organization, I want to flip this over to our topic because the topic is real. It's the same thing that we're talking about, asking for help, strength or weakness.
Mm.
Organization is one of those things that a lot of people feel like they need. And to a degree, it's not necessarily organization of the house, it's organization of the mind. It's
Absolutely.
validation, it's support, it's compensation. I mean, there's a lot of Asians we could go down a rabbit hole. But when we talk about asking for help, I think a lot of people start with reaching out to someone like you or reaching out to other people because the chaos, you know,
Mm.
and the chaos manifests in so many ways. And it can make us feel like we are at ground zero when ultimately we got way more going for us than we realize. Sometimes we need an outside person to come in and look at it and just say, oh, just swipe this here, move that there. Oh, girl, you good. And you're like, I got a masterpiece.
Mm. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of like, you know, we have this running joke, I think, on social media about going to WebMD and then diagnosing yourself that you die in
You
24
dying from
hours.
everything. Yes. Yes. I got
So
that. I got that. I got that.
we get into comparison, and we get into what you going back to what you talked about, how your organization is different than your
Mhm.
husband's organization.
Mhm.
And so you get into somebody who likes things, everything neat and put away.
Mhm.
Doesn't necessarily mean they're organized, because going back
Mhm.
to the definition of organized is finding what you need when you need it.
Oh, well, shoot, I've been organized my whole life then.
Boom. Problem solved.
Because we're not going to take this screensaver thing off because we're not going to talk about what's behind me. But I can tell you what each binder is. I can tell you what each highlighter's for. And you know, let's break that down. A lot of people could look at my desk and wonder why I have like every color posted, every color, whatever, whatever. Let's just go there. To somebody, they may think that my desk vomited. But guess what? I have vision problems. So when I'm reading an article for school or something, I use multiple colors to, you know, to drag and drop. And I'm saying this out loud because I talk about being disabled a lot of times. I have several disabilities that are classified by Social Security as disabilities. And I'm saying this for people to give themselves permission.
Yes.
Don't try to put yourself in a box that somebody else puts themselves in, because your definition of organized may be completely different depending upon what you need to get through your day to day, what you need to excel, what you need to meet your goals. That does not mean that you have to fit into Brene Brown's box, because I know a lot of people compare themselves to her. I've heard her name for so long. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, I used to just not read it because everybody talked about it.
Yeah,
I'm one of
yeah.
those for the underdog. But you know, if she you know, I'm starting to.
She's on to something there. She's on to something.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder. Maybe I'm missing out. So maybe I need to check that out. You know, but to that point, like, I think I've dismissed a lot of things in life because I look at people and I always know their circumstances are way different than mine. And so I've actually had that awareness to never follow anybody, but to create my own path. And that includes how I cook, how I organize. I take a piece of this, a piece of that. That works for me. That works for me. I know that won't work for me. That might work for me. And so, you know, this thing with social media, you know, one of the reasons I have this show is because I feel like people get so lost in the translation of the overflow of what's available. Everything is not credible.
Yeah.
Everything is not for you.
Exactly.
You know, so as we're talking about asking for help, organization, you know, just know that it's okay to tailor make your path, tailor make whatever's for you instead of trying to do what everybody else does.
Exactly. Because speaking of people who appear to be organized, we've gone into clients' homes and we walk through and we're like, so what
You call
exactly
me?
do you need? But when you start opening drawers and cabinets and it's just, what happens is they are the type of person who likes clean lines. You know, just knows nothing on top of countertops. However, when things do get too cluttered for them or too visual, they will just take a box. Everything goes in that box and it goes in the closet. And guess what? They're not organized. It just looks neat.
It's appearances.
They can't tell you where anything is.
Yep.
So really going back to really understanding yourself and awareness of yourself. And what happens is we hear other people's voices of, like you said, of what it should look like. Yep. And then we try to emulate that, but it don't feel right for us because I'm one of those people, I'm out of sight, out of mind.
See, I need visuals. Like if you take it off the counter, I'm not gonna remember that prescription needs to be filled.
Yep.
My medicine needs to be taken. Like you just took, and guess what happens? I'm gonna go buy whatever is missing because it's like, I knew I had this, but I don't have 4 hours to look for it. Let me go buy some tape. Let me go buy some scissors. Like I don't have the energy, the time, or whatever, because I know where stuff is. And that was the biggest problem when I got married. I mean, when you get married as an older adult, it's really hard because you're set in your ways. You know, I got married almost 40. You know, and it was like, okay, I knew my systems and why they worked for me. Well, then everything starts disappearing. And I'm like, my brain is literally like that commercial. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? I got a whole lot of questions. I'm like, hold up. Where is that, this, that, and the other? Because I know, because then I'm questioning my own sanity.
Yep.
Like, you know, what in the world? And this is for a lot of people because the same thing happens with electronics. Let's just go there as an entrepreneur. How many storage spaces do we have? We got Google Drive, OneDrive, Word, you know what I'm saying? And you know, you saved,
everybody using different ones.
And you know what? People tell me all the time, they're like, well, you publish your podcast quick. You know why? Because there was a time when I let the computer save the podcast, I never found it again.
Oh.
I got like 130,000 files. How do I know where it went? You think it's in the download folder, but then you got the backup and the external backup and the internal backup and all these things. And as an entrepreneur, we don't have an IT team that's in-house that we can just send a help desk ticket to. Do you know where on my computer that file just went that I haven't even had a chance to name yet? You know what I'm saying? What number was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 million trillion. No, I don't know where it went. Like, and then people look at you and they think you're irresponsible and unorganized, right? And then it's like, no, but the computer ate it. Like, no, teacher, for real, the computer ate it. You know what I'm saying? So it's, and then there goes the imposter. It start trickling in, like you don't know what you're doing, and all these things. So, girl, I'm
So
just
that
getting all
that kind
giddy.
of segues right into asking for help.
Bam.
And when you really understand your strengths and your weaknesses,
Bam.
then it is okay to delegate to things that you aren't good at.
Let me tell you something. We're gonna go to my desk over here. And let me see if this thing is gonna let me show my paper. Nope, it's not. See? Computer.
Oh,
There
it
it,
is.
that's what that is right there. You talking about knowing your strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
Like, bam. People think that self-awareness is like one of these things that you gotta like go learn all these tools and all these things. No, it's knowing your problems,
Yeah.
knowing your solutions, knowing what you're good at, knowing when to go bring in somebody else because you don't have the 8 hours to figure it out. I tell people all the time, I use humor a lot because I know my problems, and when I was able to start laughing at myself, then it didn't matter if somebody else laughed. And so it's like, hey, I know that I'm not going to bend over. I got back issues. I'm like, I know what I will and will not do. That's why I had children. They're closer to the ground and they can get that. You know what I'm saying? And then, I know what I will go to the store for. I know what I will put away. I know, what I'm saying? I know my limits. I know my weaknesses and know my strengths. Even in my business, I know all of my weaknesses. However, I'm much more hard-headed than an ideal client. But it starts with the awareness.
Mm-hmm. It does. And it's kind of like we do it for physical things all the time. We both took off our glasses earlier.
We're not, look, y'all know we got two different identities. Whatever.
Yeah. This,
I
this
got
was
more
shining
than
in
two.
the light of my ring lights. I
Listen,
took it off.
mine
But
actually
if
was doing pretty good though. I think it was doing pretty good. Oh wow.
but here's the thing. We wear if it took you an hour to read something that it could take you 10 minutes to read, but just because you didn't put your glasses on, but we do it all the time for other things. It's like, oh, my mama told me that, it's bougie to hire, a cleaning service. Honey, but you're going to sit here and squalor because of your depression or because of your busyness or because of the fact that somebody told you that you should be able to handle it all.
Yep.
You can have it in your repertoire. You can have it in your
toolkit, in your toolbox. Like, yeah.
That is something that I will delegate. I had a girlfriend. We kind of grew up, and it's honestly a lot of in the minority community. We have this mindset where asking for help is a
weakness,
deficiency.
Yep.
That we're strong, or who do I think I am to be able to delegate to this person or do that type of thing. But I had a girlfriend who struggled with that. And she will tell you in a minute, she now hires out her laundry. And it's not that expensive. She would by the pound, you leave it out.
And that's supporting a small business.
And it's supporting a small business. There you go.
That part.
And guess what?
Look, I'm justifying everything.
While you are not increasing your water bill, you paying somebody and the time that it's taking you to sort, load the washer, switch it to the dryer, fold and put away. Oh my goodness. What can you be doing with your time? And now that, she's a small business owner, she's a realtor, and she works a full-time job, her time is valuable. And so
that what you just said right there, that right there. You talked about generational stuff, stigma, all these things. I was reading what I had written for this segment, but it is a stigma about asking for help. The same thing with mental health. It's like, oh, it's weakness. It's a lie, y'all. And it's like, when are we gonna wake up and smell the roses? One of the things that I write about all the time, that I've never released, is what does help look like?
Mm,
Asking for help is one thing. Asking for help is a strength, because when you know your limits, you don't push yourself to your breaking point.
yep.
You say, okay, well, guess what? I'm the only one that knows how to do this, but my husband knows how to do this. My neighbor is going to the school anyway. She could pick up the kids. It's just an ask. This morning, I did a drive by at the bus stop this morning. And I did a drive by because everybody in my house is sick except one child. And so I was driving her to school and letting everybody know, hey, the other ones are missing because they're in quarantine. Um, and so I had told them, I was like, but I don't have any albuterol, you know? And it's like, she's like, oh, I got a whole box. They gave me a whole box. Bam. It was like a quick ask. And then what? I came back and she knocked on the door and gave me a Ziploc bag full of albuterol, and it's just like, it's a simple ask. I could sit here, I could get on the phone, I could dial and wait for an appointment, blase, blase, blah. I got the nebulizer, I got the inhaler, but I don't have the liquid. You know what I'm saying? Like, simple thing. And somebody I haven't talked to in like 3 years, text me, hey, we need to catch up. Simple thing. Somebody's like, hey, I don't have anybody that knows how to, let's just say, insert a lead magnet on my website. Take me 10 minutes, take you a week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the reality is that we have this perception that certain cultures have maids. Certain cultures go get their laundry done. Certain cultures do carpools, play dates. We're going to use the terms that our culture does not use. But the reality is that gives 5 other mothers an hour by themselves to
Yep.
do self-care, to take a nap, to see a client, to do whatever it is. And at the end of the day, asking for help is definitely a strength, because you have to be confident in yourself. You have to know what your wants and needs are. You have to know the benefits behind what you're asking. You have to know reciprocation, because I'm hoping that you know that if you ask, there may, and that's the thing that keeps people from doing favors and doing things for other people. But this is the thing, to your point, you said something about your time being valuable. One thing that we're deficient on is knowing our strengths when it comes to offering services to other people. Because there are so many things that we may be good at that we take for granted that other people may need.
Yep.
For instance, I braid hair. And never offer it, because I have to do my kids' hair. My kids are like, Ma, you know how much money you would make if you did my hair on somebody else? And I'm like, but that's not what I want to be doing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you got a mama that doesn't know how to braid, that's got 4 girls at her house that may need a braid down or whatever. That I know a braid down cost like $80 when I was in Hawaii. For a braid down. Am I about to let that mama spend $80, or am I going to just help her braid her kids' hair?
Yeah.
So when you're asking for help, don't have the mentality that it's quid pro quo, because it's not always. But if it is, think about what you can do to change somebody else's life that you could give them in return that's bigger than what they gave you.
Right. And always it comes back around, but maybe not for tit for tat. It might be you've paid, like the paying it forward kind of thing. Someone else will come. But I think learning the skill set of awareness, and setting boundaries will allow you both to ask, receive, and know your limits when you're being asked.
You just drop a nugget.
Because I think that's another, when you talked about that, sometimes people are fearful to be in debt. And I know that was me. When someone's being nice for no reason, I'm like, what they want?
And then you hanging it over your head until you give them something back, because you feel like they Guido out there looking for you.
Yeah.
Like they got nothing better to do than get that reciprocation. But the thing is, know your limits. That's the people pleasing crap that I'm in recovery though. So I'm like super high on my recovery because I learned no and I learned to stop leaving. It's like, I used to be that person. First of all, my kids would volunteer me for everything. The other day I was so proud because my daughter was like, she's on the phone and she's like, "Oh, I can have my mom come pick you up." I was waiting for her to get off the phone so I could say, no. The old me would have had every child in the neighborhood sitting on top of each other's laps trying to get to this basketball game. But I had limits. I was not even feeling good, nor was I trying to be responsible for somebody else's child. And I am not trying to set the tone in a new city of being that woman, because that has been my reputation. Oh, Nico do it, or she always got everybody kids. No. So it's one of those things, knowing your limits. I love that.
Yeah, I feel like
because
delegating is, or asking for help, I should say, is a superpower.
It is. And to
like
your point, delegation, that
any
word.
type of superpower, we have those, coming of superpower movies or superhero movies where it's like they don't understand how to use it right the first time. It's just like they're like, "Oh, I broke that. I didn't know I was that strong," or so it's kind of like when you ask for help, it's one of those things where you got to kind of come into it, but once you understand
it's
how
like
to
addictive.
do it right, man, you're unstoppable.
It's addictive. I know the first time I got a VA, it was like, I know the first time I got somebody else to do graphics, I was put to shame. I was like, my crap looked like crap.
And it took you 25 hours.
Girl, I thought my colors looked good together. I thought my fonts looked good together. I look back at my first logo and my first pictures now, and I try to swipe when Google pops them up. I'm like, and and not only that, like I remember the first time I had 3, and I gave one a task, another task, then I put in the project management, software, and I was like, this thing is like working itself out. And it's like, these are the things that are scary. Yes, it's scary. But to your point, delegation, it's one of those things where I don't know what it is about, because I always say, I was a single mom for a really long time. I never know why I feel the obligation to do some things, because it's not, I think it's lack. I think it's a lack mindset. It's like, I have to do it. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done, or I don't have the money to do this, or they're going to want something in return, or people are going to look at me as if, but I mean, look at those successful women that go to the potlucks and they stop at Publix and get some potato salad before they stop at the grocery store before they put it into the little Christmas tin and take it as if they cooked it. You know what I'm saying? People have been doing stuff like that for a long time. My point is, dispel the myths, dispel the stigmas, get over it, get over yourself. Don't think about it, just do it, because at the end of the day, you know what needs to be done. Does not mean you need to be the one to do it.
Amen. A to the men. And as soon as, so going back to, defining your values, your needs, your goals, being brave enough to be aware and defining your weaknesses, what you're not good at, and being okay with that. And I think that's where the soft spot is. When we go back to what maybe other people have called us out on as being a weakness, and now it's a sensitivity. Now we got to prove them wrong, that I'm not this, I'm not that. I don't want to look this way or that way.
And to your point, the sensitivity may be the weakness, may be the sensitivity, may be the strength. Because at the end of the day, my empathy is a weakness. And I say that I'm an empath in recovery. I don't have to be in recovery, but I can channel it the way I want and put limits on where it takes me. Because I think that's the difference. Being an empath is actually a strength, because it is emotionally intelligent. And but what we do with it. Because I used to be that one that was like, put everybody's feelings before my own. And see, that's where you got to know your limits, you got to know the boundaries. So to my point, like, you know, people may call us out on our weaknesses or whatever, and take some time and reflect. I say reflection. You know, sit down and think about what we're talking about. Like, what do you have on your plate right now that you could delegate to somebody else?
Yeah.
You know, what groups are you in? Church groups, you know, professional groups. Who can do what you're trying to do better than you?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like needing to get something done and somebody else doing it better than you could have did it. And like the sense of relief that hits the bottom of your stomach.
Mm.
Because it's done. Like you're checking it off. Doesn't matter how it got done. It's not your problem anymore.
It doesn't matter how it
Like,
got done. Let
and
go
you
of
have more
perfectionism.
hair. Like, I got one gray hair that popped up today. It's been there, but today it wanted to shine. Like, you got less gray hair. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to chop your hair off like we keep doing. You know, it's like, because look, when I get stressed off, I cut my hair off. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, you know, I want to shout from the rooftops that it's not defeat. That's what I have written down. The stigmas, people feel like asking for help means that you're being defeated. It's not defeat. It's actually victorious. It's actually wanting help, requiring help. Help is not negative. You know, support is not negative. It's natural.
Yes.
Like we weren't brought on this earth by ourselves. We did not come alone. Actually, we had nothing to do with getting here.
Nope.
You really have nothing to do with leaving either. You know, and at the end of the day, you're not meant to exist by yourself. You're not meant to grow by yourself. You're not meant to love by yourself. You're not meant, hello, theme, pattern, you know? So I want you to give our listeners and viewers any last words you have for them. Why? What freedoms do you have when you blaze your trail with help?
Oh my goodness. We are beings that need energy to thrive. So when we waste energy being something we're not, or doing things that we're not good at, then we cannot be our best selves. And people say, oh, asking for help so that I can then rest and relax. Who am I? But
Same.
Can you not help others when you are at your lowest? No. So we need to remember that, yeah, sometimes we will give our last, and there will be times where we will exhaust ourselves for the right reasons, but to do it continuously, nothing else on this planet we do that for. We plug our phones in all the time. We panic when you got 10% and it's the start of the day. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late. I need to charge my phone. We need to charge ourselves. And we can't do that without help. So a lot of us are suffering with so many different things, myself included, diagnosed with anxiety. I get so much more done when I acknowledge that I have this, knowing what it can do to my productivity if I don't handle it in the right ways, if I don't get them enough sleep, if I don't eat the right things, or if I eat the wrong things. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have had that second cup of coffee. Maybe I shouldn't have that cup of coffee at all. Because now my brain
I'm on
is
like
all over the place.
3.
Knowing what fuels me, and asking, like you said, ask me for help. One of the things that affects my anxiety is having so much out here in my brain, just like floating around.
It's unassigned.
It's unassigned, and I got to do it.
It's lingering. Yep.
But navigating, finding help isn't just grappling to the first person who looks your
Mhm.
way and say, can you help me? It's about knowing who to trust.
Mhm.
And once you start, again, it's like a superpower. Once you start knowing, like, and identifying situations and then people and then how to delegate correctly, it's
Yep.
you're unstoppable, and you can use that energy to be your best self and be there for the people who matter.
Yep.
So that's my last words, I think.
Well, I charge yourself. Love that. I also have anxiety disorder. How to delegate correctly. These are skills. And I think that's the bottom line, is that we're telling everyone, like, you have skills, you have things that you're good at, that you're expert in. And, walk in your power, like, be who you are, but don't be afraid to ask for help, because no one can do it all. And we are known to be superwomen. And I want to dispel that, because that is what's causing us to die faster, to be sick more. And I mean, how many of us have chronic illness? Like, we got to take our power back the right way. So I want to thank you for being here. Tell listeners and viewers how to find you.
So we have a new website coming out, Dexterous Lifestyle, where we will be inviting people to a community, a course of learning your organizing style, and then learning how to organize. Because the other, the last thing is a moot point if you don't know yourself and don't know how you think and operate, and dealing with the shame and the guilt and processing that. But we talked about earlier accountability. We talked about
Mhm.
earlier about community, and being able to realize we're all pretty much the same,
Mhm.
more than we are different.
Yep.
So dexterouslifestyle.com will be up and running in 2023. And if you are in the DMV area and need help organizing, we have a wonderful team, dexterousorganizing.com. And dexterous is spelled DEXTEROUS. And we look forward to connecting. Follow us on social media, Instagram at @B_dexterous.
All right, all right. And I will put all of that in the description. So reach out to Dexterous Lifestyle. I want to thank you. I'm definitely gonna pull you back. We always have amazing conversations, and luckily y'all got to hear this one, because sometimes we go on our rants. But I want to thank you for being here. This has been a topic that's been near and dear to me for a very long time. So I'm glad I finally got to put it on tape. So I want to thank you, listeners and viewers. My first time actually recording this on video. Overcoming fears this season, y'all. This is it in
Okay.
real life. So your voice is your power. I am Anika Wilson. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for another edition of Your Voice, Your Power, almost 5 years strong, 11,000 downloads. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. As always, stay powerful.